Hey, I'm Emma Garlett, and on today's episode of Paint It Blak, I'll be talking about the roles and responsibilities mining companies and the government has when it comes to sacred sites. The federal government has just presented its response to the parliamentary inquiry into the destruction of Juukan Gorge back in 2020. I'll explain why some people aren't happy about it, and why traditional owners want their voice heard with another ancient site that may be lost if the government doesn't listen to them and take action now. Don't forget to subscribe for weekly videos. Join me as I paint it black. Do you remember 2020? I'm sure a lot of us will never forget it. It was a time of lockdowns, face masks, anti-vax rallies, and a lot of stress and anxiety. But 2020 will also be remembered by a lot of people in WA as the date when 46,000 years of history was destroyed. Imagine if thousands of years of European history was wiped out in one go. There would be an outrage. For anyone who hasn't heard about the Juukan Gorge incident, buckle up. Mining giant Rio Tinto blew up the site in May 2020 as a part of its expansion of its Brockman 4 mine to gain $135 million worth of iron ore. The rock shelter filled with ancient Aboriginal art was destroyed, and what Rio Tinto did was completely legal. There was an instant backlash worldwide. One question was on a lot of people's minds. How was this allowed to happen, and how was it legal? A parliamentary inquiry into how it was allowed was held last year, which outlined 3 key findings and 8 recommendations to help fix this issue, including making the Minister for Indigenous Australians to be responsible for all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultural heritage matters, a new national framework for cultural heritage protection, and a review of the Native Title Act. And this week, the federal government released its report in response to the recommendations, in which they accepted all but one of the recommendations from the inquiry and said the government recognised an ongoing story of damage and destruction to cultural heritage sites across Australia since colonisation, and an agreement with the First Nations Heritage Protection Alliance has been signed to make sure Indigenous voices are presented at each stage of the law reform process. Now, that last point is an interesting one, because some people, particularly in the PKKP community, have blasted the response by the federal government because they say in this very announcement they weren't properly consulted. PKKP Aboriginal Corporation Chairman Birchall Hayes said Federal Environment Minister Tanya Plibersek's office had only sent an email on Tuesday about the planned announcement, saying in a statement that they would have expected the minister would want to meet with us before making a public announcement about our country and cultural heritage. And it seems like a media event in Canberra is more important than giving PKKP people the respect of asking us what can be done to try and stop something like the destruction of the Juukan Gorge rock shelters happening again. You'd have thought the government would have learned their lesson from the lack of consultation. Now, don't get me wrong, it's a good thing that something is being done about this. Our laws are grounded in colonial British rules, and I'm glad we're taking steps to unravel that and include Aboriginal voices, and we need to right the wrong that made it legal for Rio Tinto to be able to destroy 46,000 years of history. As the old adage goes, does something bad need to happen before change is made? Well, Juukan Gorge was the bad thing that happened. And now there is change starting to be made. But change may have to happen sooner rather than later, because traditional owners are concerned that there's a potential Juukan Gorge level event unfolding in front of our eyes that they want to address, so we don't see the same thing happen again. So what happens now? First Nations people need to be included in conversations that impact them, and a voice to Parliament will be a next big step towards that. Tune in over the next few weeks as I'll be explaining what a voice to Parliament is and why it's so important. Thanks for watching Paint It Blak with me, Emma Garlett. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Have a good one.